Okay, I'd like to go over Section D, Step 5, which is the transmitter setup. So you can really use just about any model helicopter transmitter. You do need 7 channels. You can actually run it with 6 if you really want to. I think I've got a question on the facts section of the web page that tells you how you can run it with 6 if you really want to. Anyway, it's the standard model helicopter controls where we run collective pitch on this stick, rudder on this stick, elevator on this stick, roll or aileron on this stick. I use this switch on top for my throttle hold. I use this switch for my stunt mode, normal, stunt 1 and stunt 2, and I use this switch to turn my gyros from rate mode to heading hold mode. And then I have a slider on the side which I drive with my pinky, and that's what I use to select the conversion angle. For me, when I set this up, I've actually gone inside the transmitter and taken the spring off of this, the drag or the detent off of this, so it slides extremely lightly, and that way when I slide it I don't have a tendency to move my other sticks. It seems to work best that way. And then I've also added a little bit of an extension to it, and it just seems to make it easier to modulate the nacelle angle. The short knob just seems really difficult to get a grip on and then modulate it in very small increments. So I typically set up my transmitter so when I get ready to fly everything's back. So this would be in normal mode, the gyro would be in rate mode, and the hold switch would be off, and then of course your throttle would be closed. Now start setting up the transmitter. You'll want to take a look at your setup first, and the model setup first, and basically you want to run this in no CCPM mixing. So that means that your roll, pitch, and yaw from your sticks and collective pitch come in to your receiver as just that, and they're not mixed prior to that. So find that functionality in your transmitter and set that up. In the Futaba transmitter, it's called a Swash 1. I think the JR calls it servo, 1 servo. And you also want to figure out which channel, whatever you're going to select for your conversion, what channel that's going to be. If you have a 3-position switch and you don't have a slider, that'll work also. You really don't need full proportional control of the nacelle. You can just run a 3-position switch where you could do helicopter mode, some intermediate angle, then full airplane mode or something like 2. But I really do like the slider. The throttle curve setup is pretty straightforward. For the normal mode setting, I run all my points at 0, so that means when I'm in normal mode I have no ability to advance the throttle, and I do this so I can set the helicopter up and not worry about turning on the throttles. I actually do it this way on my electrics also, model helicopters. I just really like the feature, the ability to be able to wiggle your throttle and not have to worry about the throttles coming on. So in idle up mode, then I run for my 0% point, I run that at 0, so your throttle will be off. But as soon as you crack the throttle or you get to the 25% point, then I run all those at 75% or 73%. Just that gets that center selection on in the castle set up So I'm running that RPM, which was the center selected one at this. If I'd run up to 100%, then I'd run that higher RPM. But I'm kind of liking this lower RPM setting better than the high RPM setting. I was thinking even trying it another 500 RPM lower, but I haven't had time to mess with that yet. So you basically set the 0%, the throttle fully down point to 0 and set everything else at 75% or so. They don't have to be exactly set when you're running this RPM mode in the Castle speed control. And then when you go to idle up 2 or stunt 2, then every single point is the same, and it's 75%, and that'll run that RPM no matter where your stick is. So you're basically in governor mode all the time, and you don't have any control of your throttles with this stick here. So that gets your throttle set up, and then I run you want to enable your throttle hold lever. You want to enable that and find out what switch it's on. I use this switch here for that, and then you set the position to about 19%, and what that does is allow you to hit this hold, and then if you decide you want your power back, you can flick that switch back on, and it'll immediately restore the power to your throttles and won't go through the slow spool up mode, which we have programmed into the controller. So you want to make sure you get that set up correctly. And then the pitch curve, they're just perfectly straight line pitch curves for stunt 1, 2, and 3 from 0 to 100%. So there's no trick to that. That goes pretty easy. Now your travel adjustments, which are called endpoints, you set them for your aileron. You set it for 50-50 for each way, right and left. For elevator, you set it for 50-50. For throttle, set it for 100 for right now, and we'll go through a procedure to actually find the endpoints for the Castle speed control that they recommend. The rudder you set for 50-50. The gyro you set at 100. The collective pitch you set at 50-50. The AUG7, which is your conversion, I recommend you set that. You start at 50-50 for that one, and then you can work up once you get ready to set that up to the actual settings in your transmitter, and that'll get each of your throttle volumes or servo ranges set. Your reverse switches or your directions for the Futaba: aileron is normal, elevator is reverse, throttle is reverse, rudder is normal, gyro is normal, pitch, which is collective pitch, is reverse, and AUG7 is normal. And I think for the JR transmitter, that's all just the opposite of that. And that basically will get your transmitter set up. I'll go into the servo monitor mode, and you can see as I use the aileron stick, I get 50% throw. As I use the elevator stick, channel number 2, I'll get 50% throw. As I use the throttle stick, I get no throttle motion, channel 3. When this switch is in normal mode. If I turn it to stunt 1 mode, at quarter stick, I'll go to 75% throttle and it'll stay there. And then in stunt 2 mode, it's just always at the 75% position. And then channel 4, as I move my rudder stick, I'll get 50% sweep there. Channel 5 is your gain. and I just flick my gain switch up here in the upper left hand coordinate, and I'll either go from minus 100% to positive 100%. And then channel 6 is collective pitch. So as I move my collective pitch stick, I'll get 50% full throw. And then the conversion angle is channel 7. So I'll get that throw for channel 7. And that's basically what you'll get if you hit your throttle hold. You'll want to see that throttle jump to 19%. No matter what mode you're in or where your throttle stick is, it should just hold it at that 19%. And the next thing to do is just make sure all your sub trims are set to 0, all your revo mixing and any other mixing is turned off or enabled. You want to make sure all your trims on the face of your transmitter are centered. You want to flip all your switches into the normal position, which for me is all the way back.